Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for ending a childcare arrangement that I had upheld for 6 years? I was a babysitter for my sister's children for 6 years. She had 2 children close together, and then her ex bailed. I worked in a daycare before this started, and when my sister started to struggle I told her I could do it. It was far less than she'd pay someone else. But my husband and I could afford the reduction. It was all perfect. My sister was great to do this for, because she was always understanding and never took advantage. She got married in April and was home for a while after. Her husband has 2 of his own children he shares custody of with their mother. It was brought up that my new nieces would be joining my niece and nephew in the childcare arrangement. Brother-in-law said it was essential I took all 4 because the siblings would not be separated. I told my sister I did not think it would work for me, that we should end it now. She understood. Her husband did not. Now here's the info there. My brother-in-law and his ex-wife had a very nasty divorce. Part of their custody agreement states they must each have access to the children's location and who is watching the children while with the other parent. So they have to give each other contact info for babysitters and daycare. His ex is a vengeful person and has created so much chaos already. She told my mom to drop dead when my parents had all 4 kids a few weeks before the wedding. She even drove by the house while the kids were there. My brother-in-law's brother had to install cameras outside his house because she was showing up there when he had the kids. My other sister was out with our new nieces a day before the wedding to buy them a couple of things and had a run-in with their mom. She felt like the girl's mom was unhappy they were with her. I also know from my sister that the girls have started repeating stuff their mom says. My sister is a bitch. My niece and nephew are not their siblings. My niece and nephew are bad. I don't want to invite that into my life in such a big way. I feel like brother-in-law's daughter should be placed in a professional setting where they have more support and it's not one unfortunate adult being ambushed. I have children of my own now. I also need to think of them. Brother-in-law is furious I won't even attempt this and that I'm ending it after 6 years. When I had no trouble doing it until his children were involved. I told him his children were not the problem. His ex-wife was. He said it was not a valid reason. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA, your brother-in-law sounds like just as much of a problem as his ex-wife. Quite entitled to your help. I imagine you should be worried for your sister. Op needs to tell Bill that he doesn't get to visit his problems onto her. He is being purposefully ignorant to the situation because he doesn't want to pay for childcare. This is his problem to solve. He chose the ex-wife, so he chose the consequences of that decision. NTA. One thing I have learned in life is to beware people who make everything a debate. You state your brother-in-law said, he said it was not a valid reason. Who cares? You do not need a valid reason. You have decided it no longer works for you. That is the end of it. There is no discussion. You do not need any reason, much less a valid one. If brother-in-law tries to have any further discussion, simply cut it off. Let him know it is not a discussion. You have decided the arrangement no longer works for you, and that is the end of it. NTA. And he doesn't have to agree that it's a valid reason. You think it is and that's all that matters. You're making the right decision. So tell your brother-in-law to get over it. Am I the antagonist for pranking my girlfriend? Molly and I have been dating 2 years and we are both 20. Last weekend we were hanging out at my parents' place by the pool, and she asked me to go get her water. I thought it'd be funny to take the hose and spray her. I figured it was fine, because her purse and her phone and stuff was inside so nothing would be irredeemably water damaged. So, I go get the hose. She's lying on her back. I yell heads up and spray. And no, it wasn't the hard setting. It was like the shower head type spray. She pops up and honestly, after the initial shock, I thought she'd find humor in it. Nope. She was upset that she was wet, that her hair was wet, that she was cold. I insisted to her that I thought she'd find it a little funny. She said I was an idiot, that I was immature, that I was a little boy, and that I was disrespectful. I went inside, got her a few more towels so she could dry off. When I've tried apologizing, she's just rolled her eyes. Told me I'm not apologizing because I'm sorry. but because I want out of the doghouse. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. If the next time, don't take your cues from zany comedies. Yep. Pranks are only funny when everyone is laughing at her. Not everyone enjoys being on the receiving end of pranks. I, for one, hate it. You're the a-hole. I hate pranks that are humiliating or designed to make someone embarrassed or uncomfortable. My ex-friend used to flick me in the face with water condensation from her cups. The first time she did it, someone laughed at me. Then every time we hung out, she did it to me. It's not as much as a hose in the face, but it makes me uncomfortable. She's not doing it because I like it. She's doing it because it is funny to other people. Now we don't hang out. Are there even pranks that are not humiliating or that do not make someone embarrassed/uncomfortable? I'm having hard time trying to think about it, but then I kinda hate all pranks, so I guess I'm biased. Am I the antagonist for not putting my spouse on my health insurance coverage? Roughly a year ago, my spouse took a new job for more money that offered incredibly limited benefits compared to the position he had. His current employer offered to pay 100% of health insurance coverage for the employee, but will only cover the employee. There is no insurance offered at all for spouse or kids. I didn't like it at the time. We have kids. One of the kids has some delays and is a healthcare frequent flyer. My husband did not view no insurance for me or the kids as a deal breaker and took the job anyways. He was initially told he would have insurance within a couple months of being hired. It turned into insurance after a year once he actually started the job. I wanted him to make an issue of it, since he had it in writing in his initial offer that he'd have insurance in X amount of days. But he refused to address it with his company. Suffice it to say, we are almost at the year mark, and he has heard nothing about his insurance. To solve the immediate issue, we all got marketplace coverage. It's mediocre at best. It's not cheap, but we manage with it. I've recently taken a job with great benefits. I took less money than I might have made elsewhere specifically because this job has great benefits. The cost to insure myself plus kids is very reasonable, and it is good coverage. The cost to insure all of us, meaning myself plus husband plus kids, is several $100s higher. Not unreasonable, but it'll cost me several $1,000s a year to specifically insure my husband. Adding him nearly doubles the monthly price. I don't make as much as he does. So basically a month's worth of my annual income will be going to insure him. He asked me if I was going to insure him. I said no. He's supposed to have his own coverage and I feel like he needs to handle that with his employer rather than passing the cost of insuring him on to me. He definitely thinks I'm being an asshole. What do y'all think? Am I wrong here? Now for the top comments. Wait. Employer was supposed to cover 100% of healthcare for the employee, but then it turned into not until after a year. That's basically no healthcare, and it sounds like they bait and switched him. Open bracket. Precisely. It said 60 days in his initial offer/contract. He started the job and hit that point, and they said oh no, it's a year, and he dropped the issue. It's now almost a year. He has not been given any paperwork for the insurance. Every time I've asked him to pursue it with them, he refuses. NTA, if he refuses to address it with his company, then it's not your responsibility. NTA, he didn't give two thoughts to you or the children when he took his new job, and he didn't even ensure he wouldn't bankrupt your family if he himself got sick or injured by chasing up his promised health insurance. I wouldn't add him to your policy unless he gives you the money that it will cost to add him to the policy every single month. Why should you be giving up even more of your salary to pay for something he should already have via his own employer? She really cannot do that. Once he is added on, he is added for the entire benefit year unless a major life event occurs. And honestly, I wouldn't trust he would reimburse her. And yes, ideally it's an our money situation, but we don't know. Am I the antagonist for yelling at my mom's husband in public? Background. My dad died when I was 7 years old. My mom remarried when I was 9. I'm now 16. My mom's husband, which is what I call him because I do not feel he deserves the title of stepdad or dad, came into the relationship with some clear jealousy. He told my mom to take down all the photos of my dad in our house. bringing up that it felt like dad's house vs his. Even though mom and I had moved prior to their marriage and after my dad died. So it was never my dad's house. He then made a big deal out of me having so many photos of my family and my parents in my room. I told him I liked looking at them and I liked having the memories near. He said I could put photos of my dad away so he wasn't intruding on our family. I told him I didn't like him. I was 9 and he wasn't going to take my dad from me. He kicked my grandparents aka dad's parents out of our house when I was 10 because they brought me some childhood photos of dad. He went crazy saying he didn't want photos of that man in his house. I never did forgive him for that. He told me to stop bringing up my dad. One time mom and I were talking about dad on his birthday and he said it was disrespectful and he didn't want to feel like he was competing with a ghost. My mom ended the conversation and she apologized to him. But I was pissed off at him more than anything. He was such an ass to friends of our family who knew my dad. Anytime someone commented that I was getting more like him, he would scowl at them and tell them to move the conversation along because talking about a dead man was uncomfortable for most people. He used the line once that he was the only dad I ever had, and I told him that was not fucking true and he was never going to be worthy of being my dad. Anyway, that's a lot of background, but not all, since I don't have unlimited typing space. My mom's birthday was Saturday and her husband threw her a party. Midway through he gives me a gift. Inside was a photo of himself that he wanted me to put in my room and adoption papers. I tossed the adoption papers in the trash. He saw what I did, which led him to make a comment about not being able to toss away the truth. I got mad so fucking fast. I told him to get over himself. That his jealousy and insecurity was not my problem and I would never let him legally become my father. That I didn't even want him married to my mom, and he was a disgusting asshole. Everyone heard what I said. He's still furious. My mom was upset by his anger. Almost everyone left after I yelled, "Am I the antagonist?" Now for the top comments. NTA. What in the flying fuck is wrong with that guy? Why is he even still in the house? Why is your mom still with him? That guy has some big ass issues. Also, Op's mom is kinda on the hook here for not standing up for Op more. It was their dad who passed. The man isn't in the picture, except in pictures and memories anymore. Her stepdad is way overstepping by trying to force his will on everyone, and Op hit the nail on the head. Definition not the a-hole. I'm worried for your safety. Op, please seek help from a trusted loved one. BC he may take this out on you or your mom. NTA. Your mother's husband expects everyone to stop loving your dad because he died. I would have thought the adoption papers were a wonderful, loving gesture had I not read the history leading up to it. He is trying to erase your dad's memory. There is no reason your mom can't still have love for your father and also love her current husband for who he is. It's different love because they are different people. He doesn't seem to get this, and you've had enough. Fuck that prick. Not the a-hole. I hope you get out of there as soon as you can and live your life without that toxic shit around you. I'm sure your dad would have been proud of you for standing up for both yourself and him. NTA. You are 16 and you lost your father and don't want his memory erased, which is completely understandable. He has no business with the pictures in your room. Be very clear to your mother that you don't want to be adopted by him. Am I the antagonist for telling my stepdad that it'll be his fault if my brother ends up dying? I, 21 male, have 2 younger brothers. Digo, 20 male, and Ivan, 17 male. Ivan is from my mom's second marriage to my stepdad. Digo and I are pretty involved in Ivan's life, and we visit him whenever we can. Right now, both Digo and I are attending college and we both live with our dad around 1 to 2 hours away from mom and Ivan. Since we live with him, we usually spend summer and winter break with our mom. We only rate Christmas and New Year's Eve. Our dad is an ex-military. He never stopped working out, and when we were old enough, Digo and I began to have the same lifestyle as him. He later on became a nutritionist and recently got his master's in health. My stepdad's side of the family is, for the most part, morbid obese. We don't judge, and we've never made any bad comment towards them. But Digo and I were pretty concerned for our brother because most of my stepdad's relatives has either died from heart failures diabetes or things related to obesity. Ivan has never been a small guy, but he could still keep track with us on our morning run and small workouts we did at home. Then we both left for college and he began to get from bad to worse. He had a hard time with long walks, didn't last during our runs, hard time breathing, had to stop when speaking. You get the drill. The worst thing was that my stepdad never took it serious. He swear that Irving is okay and it was just a boy being a boy. How food was important, that he'll grow the weight out and things like that. At 17, Irving weighs 230 pounds, almost the same as our stepdad, and he's 42 and is on the verge of getting diabetes. And since he doesn't take it serious, Ivan doesn't do it too. This is not about appearance or anything like that. My brother comes from a family with a bunch of weight diseases and we only want him to be safe and healthy. Digo and I decided to sit our mom and stepdad down and lay out all of these facts. We even asked our dad to give us some things to prove our arguments and we begged, actually, to let us take Ivan to our dad so he can evaluate him and made a diet and a workout set for him. For free. We will accompany him to the gym. We will teach him how to make his own food. We will take care of it. Mom was on board, but our stepdad called us bullies for calling our brother fat. Digo tried to explain him calmly that it wasn't like that, but I had enough and snapped. I got up and called him a horrible father for not taking this seriously and that if Ivan ends up dying, is his fault. He called us and kicked us out and said we are not allowed to come back until we apologize. Now for the top comments. You never mention how Ivan feels about this diet and meeting your dad. You mention talking to his parents, but not him. If Ivan is not a willing participant, this will never get him on track until he's willing to make the change. Info: your brother is 17. Why not ask him if he want to go instead of getting your parents to force him? Because trust me, if your mom and stepdad force him to go he won't get any results because he won't care. He doesn't want to unless his dad is on board. I've asked him, and since my stepdad and dad aren't on speaking or good terms, he thinks is some kind of betrayal, so we have to get our stepdad on board. So why wasn't that your argument? We are not bullying him, he wants to do it, and your brother should have been there to say that. But my guess he doesn't want to, and using dad as an excuse. Info: how tall is Ivan? Op said he's 5 feet 2 or 5 feet 3. AITA for not going directly to Ivan. JFC, you need to get the actual person's consent to do stuff like this to them. What wouldn't happened if Ivan said no? Force him. They already spoke to Ivan, and he said he will do it if his dad is on board. I guess Op need to find out if he really wants to do it, or if that is an excuse. AITA. For so many reasons. Even before getting to what you said. So, these two men don't get along. You knew that your little bro would need his father's approval. So you felt that it would totally be a great idea to say, hey stepfather, you have failed as a parent in this regard. And my father, whom you dislike, is so good at it and can save your son since you really messed it up here. Why did you even need to involve your father anyway? Your little bro hadn't even started the process yet. You couldn't have figured out some healthy meals he likes and gotten him to go walking with you without expert advice? Again, especially when the expert is an emotionally charged situation. Consulting an expert is not typically step 1. When a teenager decides they want to get healthier. The third reason you're the a-hole is because you are like going way too far into this before even taking one step and railroading everything. That's not like a normal response. Just because you have access to expertise doesn't mean it's necessary. Like, if you and I were talking and you mentioned that you wanted to compost and recycle more, and I suddenly set up an appointment for you with, let's say, your ex's brother, to examine everything you are doing wrong and make a 5-year plan to be energy independent and entirely organic. Slow the heck down and see if you can get the guy eating some vegetables and taking walks with you before taking care of everything to upend his whole life. And then finally, as to your actual question, well, I hope it felt good to deliver that, Barb, because if your goal was to continue to find a solution to this, you probably seriously impeded it. Am I the antagonist for walking out the door and driving away when I was told I need to do the dishes? This has happened this week. I, 28F, have been married to my husband, 30 male, for 6 years. We don't have any children. This weekend we were visiting his family. He is the oldest among his siblings, and there's 9 of them, 6 brothers and 3 sisters in total, youngest being 16. Everyone lives with their partners or roommates in either rented or owned accommodation, except the youngest and 2 brothers, 23 and 26. Every other week they all come round my mother-in-law house together with their partners. So 16 people this weekend, including my fill-in mother-in-law. Unfortunately on Sunday my mother-in-law wasn't feeling well, so she stayed in her bedroom to rest. She normally does all the cooking in the house. When we visit her we make sure we also do shopping and buy groceries and snacks for the family. I also make sure I get separate food for myself as I have a lot of allergies and intolerances and dietary requirements. Most of the time it's not an issue as I would just put my food in the oven when the cooking is almost done or eat later. Sunday morning comes and I was about to make myself some breakfast when all my in-laws and their partners started moaning that they are hungry, including my husband. He can cook and does it well. I have reminded them that they know where the fridge and oven are, but apparently they were too difficult to find. They ended up begging me to cook something for them and I had no choice but to agree, expecting them to help me since you know they are adults. It took me 3 hours to prepare food for them and they were moaning about having food at different times or the food getting cold. It was simple eggs with bacon and some toast. After I finished and started making food for myself, all I wanted is eat as I was super hungry and just have a nap somewhere as I was really tired from all that cooking. Halfway through my meal one of my sister-in-law approached me and asked why am I making more food and not washing the dishes. I was taken aback and asked if she seriously wants me to wash the massive pile of dishes and pans after all this cooking when there's at least 15 other adults in the house that are perfectly capable to do it. My sister-in-law informed me that in their house, whoever does the cooking also must do the dishes. I got annoyed as I have just started eating my food and was super tired. I told her and my other in-laws that it's no wonder their mum is not feeling well after doing all the work around the house and get no help from her adult children. I have ended up putting my breakfast in a takeaway box, packing my bags, and leaving the house to drive home as I was still expected to do the dishes. My husband stayed behind and hasn't returned. Him and his siblings are calling me an asshole for driving away and leaving the dishes undone. Am I the antagonist? Edit. Husband's house meant my mother-in-law house. Now for the top comments. My sister-in-law informed me that in their house, whoever does the cooking also must do the dishes. NTA. And frankly I'd be talking to your husband and say that this made you realize how incredibly rude all of you were being to his mother. Everyone should have been cleaning the kitchen for mother-in-law way before this, insisting that she gets a break. I've honestly tried and have explained how entitled and rude they behave towards my mill. Unfortunately this is met with, they are my children / guests / siblings. NTA. Next time don't do the cooking either. These are grown-ass adults. They actually tricked you into doing the cooking so that they could fool you into doing the washing up too and failed. Your husband is also tough for not standing up for you and going along with their little plan. Next time cook your own food and no one else's. That way you will be responsible for your own dishes and no one else's. Next time go to a spa day and meal with poor mother-in-law. WTF. NTA. But your husband sided with them? I'd never set foot back there and I'd have a serious talk with the husband. NTA. And it sounds like your mother-in-law and Phil raised a bunch of dependent and incapable children who aren't self-sufficient. How do they survive on their own? And they couldn't even appreciate what you did do. WTH, this family sounds very entitled and like a sexist one from the 50s.